Let's take a breath before we begin, not the kind you take before a performance, but the kind you take when you're about to touch something sacred. There's a difference between having sex and making love. Sex can be instinctual, a reflex, a reaction, a momentary surrender to chemistry. But making love, that's an art. It's deliberate, it's soul, deep. It doesn't start in the bedroom, it starts with intention. You don't make love with your body alone, you make love with your presence. Presence means putting your phone away, your thoughts on mute, and your ego to rest. It means showing up fully, not just to your partner's body, but to their fears, their longings, their story. When you make love, you listen with your hands, you speak with your eyes, you hear what isn't said. Real intimacy is built long before skin ever touches skin. It begins with a conversation, soft, curious, open. It grows with trust, honesty, and the kind of communication that says, I see you, I choose you, again and again. Touch changes when it comes from love. It isn't just about pleasure, it's about reassurance. It says, you're safe with me, you're enough here, you can exhale now. And there's something quietly radical about going slow. When you stop trying to rush to the end, to climax, to validation, to performance, you begin to feel the subtle beauty of connection. Making love isn't a goal, it's a space you enter together, and in that space, your partner becomes more than a body. They become a soul you're holding. Understand this, anyone can have sex, but to make love is to give the parts of yourself that don't always have words. It's to share the unspoken. It's to invite someone into your softness without apology. And when it's over, when your bodies are still, and your hearts are beating in quiet sync, what matters is not just that it happened, but how you leave each other afterward. Do you stay? Do you hold them? Do you honor the intimacy that just unfolded? Because making love doesn't end when the movement stops. It lingers in the silence. It lives in how gently you speak after, in how deeply you breathe together, in how you say good, bye, or better yet, how you stay. Let sex be a celebration, but let love, making, be a ceremony. The difference isn't just in how it feels. It's in how it transforms you. Sex, at its most basic level, can be instinctual. It's a biological urge, a surge of chemicals, a magnetic pull, something primal and raw. And there's nothing inherently wrong with that. We're wired for desire. But when we rely only on instinct, we stay on the surface. Intention is what invites depth. Instinct asks, what do I want right now? Intention asks, what do we want to create together in this moment? They might seem similar, but they're not the same. One is about release. The other is about connection. When you approach intimacy with intention, you become aware of how your partner is feeling, what they might need, what they're holding back, what they're ready for. You don't just act, you choose. You choose to be kind with your words, gentle with your touch, and curious instead of assuming. It's not about planning every move or making love a mechanical ritual. It's about tuning in, asking yourself before the first kiss, am I here to take or to share? Before undressing each other, am I rushing to escape loneliness or stepping into closeness? Intention is subtle but powerful. It shifts the energy. It makes a space feel sacred, even if you're in an ordinary room. It changes the way you touch, not out of habit or hunger, but out of a desire to express something deeper. Love, respect, gratitude, wonder. To make love is to bring your full awareness into what you're about to do, not just what your body wants, but what your heart is ready to offer. Because when intimacy begins with intention, everything that follows becomes more honest, more open, more alive. Presence isn't just about being in the room, It's about being in the moment. And when it comes to making love, your body can be involved while your mind is miles away, distracted, performing, anticipating, replaying, worrying, pretending. That isn't presence, that's absence disguised as participation. Emotional presence is the act of truly arriving, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, spiritually. It means putting aside the noise of your day, the lists in your head, the protective layers you've built to survive outside the bedroom. It means showing up not as a version of yourself, but as yourself, fully and honestly. This kind of presence requires vulnerability. It's the willingness to be seen, not as someone flawless or in control, but as someone real. You're not there to perform. You're there to connect. It's in the way you listen to silence, in the way you notice the change in your partner's breath, in how your energy says, "I'm here with you, only you right now." You can't fake emotional presence. Your partner will feel it, whether you speak or not. It's in your eyes, in the tone of your voice, in the patience of your hands. And just as powerfully they can feel when it's missing, when your body's close but your mind is elsewhere. When you're emotionally present, your partner stops being an object of desire and becomes a co-creator of experience. You're not using each other to feel good, you're meeting each other in truth. That meeting might be soft or wild, quiet or playful, but it's real. It's felt. It's alive. Emotional presence allows the smallest gestures to carry meaning. A pause becomes tenderness. A look becomes a promise. A sigh becomes a conversation. And in that space, you stop wondering if you're doing it right and start feeling your way forward, moment by moment. Before a single piece of clothing is removed, before a single touch is exchanged, something far more intimate can happen, a conversation. Not the kind filled with flirtatious banter or clever lines, but the kind that opens a door into someone's inner world. Because real foreplay doesn't begin with your hands, it begins with your voice, with what you're willing to say and what you're brave enough to hear. When communication is honest, it disarms. It dismantles the roles people think they have to play. It breaks down the pressure to perform, to impress, to guess. It replaces assumptions with clarity, and clarity, when it's given gently, is deeply erotic. It's the difference between, "I hope they like this," and "I know what makes them feel safe, seen, and desired." Asking someone what they like isn't a sign of inexperience. It's a sign of care. Telling someone what you need doesn't ruin the mystery. It builds trust, and trust is the soil where intimacy grows. There's also the kind of communication that happens before and during intimacy, the little check-ins that say, "Are you okay? Do you want more of this? Does this feel good to you?" Not just physically, but emotionally. Sometimes it's not even about words. It's about tone, breath, expression, reading what's unspoken, and being brave enough to ask when something feels off. And then there's the deeper layer, the willingness to talk about your own heart, to say, "I want to feel closer to you. This is where I get nervous. Here's what turns me on, not just in body, but in spirit." These conversations are vulnerable. They require humility, but they also spark connection. They let your partner know that you're not just trying to get something from them, you're trying to meet them, to understand them, to hold space for who they are. And when that space is created, something shifts, the air changes, a quiet trust builds, the kind that makes your partner feel not just desired, but chosen. Not just wanted, but understood. Touch is often seen as a physical act, skin against skin, a means to excite, to stimulate, to build tension. But when touch becomes only mechanical, it loses its language. It becomes a transaction rather than a translation of emotion. Touch, when it comes from a deeper place, communicates far more than desire. It says, I care for you. I respect you. I'm here with you, not just for what you give me, but for who you are. The human body holds memories. It carries unspoken stories, some tender, some painful, some still unfolding. And when you touch someone, you're not just encountering a body. You're brushing up against all the places they've been hurt, healed, loved, or ignored. A touch that is conscious of this carries a different weight. It's not always about seduction. Sometimes the most intimate touch is a hand resting quietly on the small of the back, a thumb softly brushing a cheek, fingers tracing a shoulder, not to arouse but to reassure. These moments say, I see you, in a way words often can't. Touch beyond the physical listens before it reaches. It doesn't assume, it pays attention to the way a body responds, tightens, softens, leans in, or pulls away. It respects boundaries, it honors signals. It also involves patience, the kind of patience that doesn't rush past tenderness to arrive at pleasure. The kind that understands pleasure isn't only about intensity, but about safety, closeness, trust. When you touch someone with presence, with care, with quiet reverence, you begin to reach the parts of them that crave not just contact, but connection. The places that ache not for stimulation, but for comfort. The parts of them that long to be held without being fixed, seen without being judged, touched without being used. Desire can be sparked by appearance, by chemistry, by proximity, but love is sustained by understanding. And to make love truly is to reach beyond the body and into the heart of the person lying beside you. This means seeing your partner not just as someone who fulfills a role, lover, spouse, companion, but as an individual with a private world. A world made up of history, wounds, longings, dreams, and doubts. Every person carries stories they don't always know how to tell. To understand their heart is to patiently listen for the stories that are whispered, hidden, or told without words. It's about being curious, not in a way that interrogates, but in a way that invites. Curious about what makes them feel valued, about what makes them close off or open up, about what love looks like to them when no one is watching. Some people feel most loved through softness. Others feel it through deep eye contact, through laughter, through stillness, through words that say, I appreciate who you are even when you're struggling. When you understand someone's heart, you begin to recognize these languages. You notice the small things they don't say. You respond to the subtle shifts in their energy. You attune to what they need to feel safe in giving themselves fully. And the heart doesn't always show itself right away. Some people have spent years hiding it behind charm, behind resilience, behind silence. Earning access to it requires gentleness, a steady kind of love that doesn't demand but waits, watches, and makes room. It's also about seeing your partner as more than who they are in that moment. It's recognizing their inner child, their evolving self, their insecurities, their depth. It's honoring their complexity instead of trying to simplify them into roles or expectations. When you understand someone's heart, intimacy deepens. Because now, touch is not random, words are not casual, your presence is not neutral. Everything you offer begins to land in a more meaningful place, in the parts of them that have longed to be seen, not just desired. True intimacy doesn't thrive in tension, it doesn't grow in uncertainty, it can't unfold in spaces where one or both people feel like they have to guard themselves, perform, or anticipate harm. Love, making at its deepest level, begins with safety, not just physical, but emotional, psychological, and energetic. Safety is the invisible foundation of connection. It's not always visible, but it's always felt. It's in the way you speak, in the way you pause to check in the way your partner knows they can breathe without being judged, touched without being pressured, express a boundary without being punished. When someone feels safe with you, their body softens, their breath deepens, their nervous system starts to release its grip on survival, and their heart begins to open, not because they have to, but because it finally feels like it can. Creating that safety is not a one-time gesture. It's a way of relating. It's in consistency, in honesty, in reliability. It's built in the little moments when you listen without interrupting, when you respond with empathy instead of defensiveness, when you make space for silence without needing to fill it. Trust, too, is not something owed. It's something earned over time in the way you handle your partner's vulnerability. Do you hold it gently, or do you rush past it? Do you give them the freedom to feel, or do you try to fix, minimize, or explain it away? Trust grows when someone knows they can show their softer side without it being used against them. Safety also means clarity. When your words match your actions, when your intentions are transparent, when you say what you mean and mean what you say, you give your partner a sense of ground to stand on. That ground allows them to relax into intimacy, to explore desire without fear, to bring their whole self to the moment without reservation. And it's not just about how you treat them during intimacy, but how you treat them outside of it, the way you hold them when they're struggling, the way you speak about them when they're not in the room, the way you take responsibility when you've caused hurt. These things matter. They build or break the foundation of trust long before your hands ever reach for each other. We live in a world that rewards speed, fast replies, quick fixes, instant gratification, but intimacy doesn't follow that rhythm. The language of true connection is spoken slowly. It asks us to pause, to breathe, to notice. Making love isn't a race to a destination. It's a journey inward, a moment-to-moment unfolding, and the slower you go, the more you feel, not just physically but emotionally. You begin to tune into things that speed would have blurred: the slight catch in your partner's breath, the way their body responds to a whisper, the silent requests carried in a look or a sigh. Slowness is an invitation to savor, to explore rather than perform, to be curious rather than calculated. When you go slow, you're not trying to impress, you're trying to connect. You're not rushing to get somewhere, you're opening space to be here. The rhythm of slow allows you to be more attentive, not just to your partner's body, but to their energy. You start to pick up on shifts that tell you when to lean in and when to pause, when they're ready to receive, and when they need you to simply stay close without moving forward. There's a deep intimacy that lives in restraint, not holding back from fear, but choosing to be fully present with each stage of connection. From the first glance to the first touch, from a soft kiss to a still moment where nothing is happening but breath. In that stillness, something sacred begins to emerge. Going slow also means letting the moment evolve naturally, without expectation or pressure. It means not trying to control the experience, but allowing it to become what it wants to be. It means being more interested in how your partner feels than in how things look or whether they follow a script. And it allows space for emotion to rise, because when things slow down, feelings catch up, memories surface, belongings come into focus. Slowness creates a container big enough to hold all of that: the pleasure, the uncertainty, the beauty, the mess. Mindful intimacy is the art of staying fully connected, not just to your partner, but to yourself, to the moment, to the quiet current flowing between two people sharing something sacred. It's what transforms physical closeness into emotional resonance. In moments of intimacy, the mind has a tendency to wander. It drifts into performance, into self, consciousness, into stories. Am I doing this right? Do they like this? Do I look good right now? It jumps ahead to the outcome, to the peak, to what's next, and in doing so, it leaves the present behind. Mindful intimacy calls that mind back home. It's the gentle discipline of returning again and again to what's actually happening right now. The texture of a breath, the softness of skin, the rhythm of a heartbeat, the subtle language of eye contact, the warmth of being held and truly holding back. Being mindful doesn't mean being serious or restrained. It means being aware. It means not just moving, but feeling the meaning behind the movement. It's noticing the emotional tone of a moment, not just what's being done, but why it's being done. Are you trying to connect or trying to escape? Are you expressing something or filling a silence? Are you listening or just touching? Mindful intimacy is also about staying attuned to your partner's state, not assuming, not guessing, but observing. Is their body responding with openness or tension? Do their eyes say more or wait? Are you moving forward together or leaving one another behind in unspoken disconnection? It creates a space where nothing has to be rushed or hidden, where you can shift, pause, speak, breathe, laugh, even cry without breaking the connection, where everything that arises is welcomed, not judged. It also means staying connected to your own inner landscape, feeling your own emotional shifts as you give and receive, being honest with yourself about what you want, what feels nourishing, what feels forced, what brings you closer to the person beside you, and what pulls you away. Mindful intimacy is a practice, a slow, conscious weaving of attention, intention, and affection. It's not about getting somewhere. It's about being fully alive where you already are. What happens after the peak is often more revealing than what led to it. The afterglow, that quiet, unguarded space that follows physical intimacy, holds a depth that is easily overlooked. But it is in this space where the truth of connection often reveals itself. The body may have softened, the breath may have slowed, but the heart is still open. Raw, exposed, sensitive, the energy that was stirred during intimacy doesn't vanish once the moment climaxes. It lingers, it floats between you, it waits to see what kind of care will follow. Some people use sex to reach closeness, but abandon that closeness the moment desire is satisfied. That creates confusion, even pain, not because of what happened during, but because of what was missing after. The message becomes, I wanted your body, not your being. But when you choose to stay, truly stay, in the afterglow, you send a different message entirely. You say, I'm still here, not because I got what I wanted, but because I'm with you. The afterglow is a space for silence without distance, for stillness without disengagement. It's a chance to hold, to be held, to let the moment settle into something more than physical memory, to let it imprint on the emotional self, to offer warmth not out of obligation, but out of affection, to listen with your body, to care softly and without urgency. It's also a time when walls may lower even further, things that couldn't be said before. Fears, gratitude, quiet admissions sometimes surface here. The body has already spoken, now the heart feels safe enough to speak too. That might look like a quiet smile, a whispered thank you, a tear that finally releases after being held back for days. These are not interruptions to intimacy, they are intimacy. And sometimes the most powerful intimacy lives in the quiet moments, forehead to forehead, breath sinking without effort. No need to explain anything, just presence, just peace. You begin to realize that the connection didn't end with release. It simply changed form. It moved from motion to stillness, from intensity to depth, from passion to comfort.